It's Cliff Gallup time.
This song is a jazz standard, and the first thing when learning a jazz standard is getting to know the chord progression. This one follows the traditional AABA form. Here we go. F, F, C sharp, C7, F, F, A7, D7, D7, G7, C7, F. And now the second A, F, F, C sharp, C7, F, F, A7, D7, D7, G7, C7, F, F7, now B, part B, B flat is the chord, F, F, F7, B flat, B flat, B flat, B flat, F, F, C7, C7, now the last part A, F, F, C sharp, C7, F, F, A7, D7, D7, G7, C7, F. And this is what the rhythm section plays. Cliff Gallup during the solo doesn't follow it with 100% precision. First, in the beginning of part A, he stays longer on F, and usually comes to C7 a bit later. As an example, here from the second part of the solo. Here, F takes the whole first bar. Wah but wap dap dabba dabba wah da 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 da. And the second bar is divided between C sharp 7 and C7. The rhythm section plays the same chords a bit differently, but it still sounds good since the melody in the solo follows the general flow of the chords. One more thing is while the band plays A7, Cliff disregards it and remains on F major. That also sounds good because, well, it needs some theory. Starting from A7, the chord progression is essentially a circle of fifths in the key of F. So it's A7, D7, G7, C7, and resolving into F major. A is third degree in the key of F, and usually, as a part of circle of fifths, third degree is an altered dominant chord. So it's not just plain A7, it's something like A7 plus 5 or A7 plus 9. And by the way, F major scale has all of the notes that fit an altered A7, and plus the song itself is in the key of F. Well, really, here is A7 plus 5 chord, and F is its raised fifth, while G is the seventh, A is the root, B flat is the lowered ninth, C is the raised ninth, and so on. So it's a very common thing for old-time jazz to stay on the root chord's major scale in this situation. And now, let's see these concepts in practice. Ain't she sweet? 3, 4, 1. These days we have compressor pedals, we have rail pickups to capture the sound no matter how far you bend the string. All of that didn't exist back in the 50s, so it just takes one fist of iron and the other of steel to keep this note ringing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1. And that's, by the way, our first lick. It starts on F and then goes through the chord changes to C#7 and C7. The chord I play on C# is in fact just a bunch of ghost notes I muted twice. First with the palm and then with the left hand. I mean this chord. I release fingers from the frets as soon as I scratch the strings. And this thing here is a hammer on, a pull off and a slide. And finally, in the beginning of the lick, the first note after that bend, 3, 4, 1, this note, it's actually a rake across the top 3 strings muted with the left hand. 2, 3, 4, 1. And now we get to the next line. It's an F6 arpeggio with a leading tone. Again, it's an arpeggio, not a chord. So don't let the notes ring, mute them after playing. And then again we have the same notes. Think of it if these were parts of the chord shapes. So these are C#7, C#9, and then C7 chord shapes. So these were first 2 lines, and then we are back on F playing F major scale. In fact, here it is already A. But as you remember from the chord progression section, Cliff Gallup stays on F major scale even when the rest of the band plays A. Here is how the same notes sound with the chords. So, as you can see, then the melody continues following chord shapes which are D9 and 2 variations of D7. And the slides here should be really slow, not like this, but like this. And then there is the final lick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And it also follows the chord shapes. First G9, then C7, and apparently F. And for the last 2 chords, I use index of my right hand. I believe Cliff Gallup did it in a similar way. And now let's play the whole part 1 of the solo together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1. Now the second part. It starts like this. First, let's play a simpler version. Now adding some details, namely ghost notes here on the second string. I believe Gallup used his pinky, however, since this should be really ghost notes, with ring finger it is easier to control the pressure. And the next line is a variation of the same. And then a continuation of the same idea. It's once again an example of using F major lick while the harmony moves from F via A7 to D7. And then we have the final lick. These last notes were apparently F major, and before that, the melody was yet once again following chord shapes. So these are G9, then C13, and as the final touch, look how I use rakes to play these notes here. Now let's repeat.
How I hate she's sweet.
First, kind of disclaimer. What I will show you now, I mean the accompaniment from Ain't She Sweet, is not exactly what Gallup played. On the recording, his part often overlaps with vocals. That's why when I was not able to hear the actual notes, I had to guess and sometimes even to come up with my own licks. So in the end, it's more like kind of what I would play if I was in a Gene Vincent tribute band rather than an accurate transcription. Nevertheless, I hope it's still interesting and educating. So let's dive into. What I have just played is two A parts showing some variations, and we will get to B part and its variations later. The core lick here in the first 4 bars of the A part is this. Oh well, ain't she sweet? As you see, I played with fingers. In a band situation, it would help me to keep my part behind the vocals because finger picking is naturally more quiet. If we repeat this lick twice and add a few more notes and chords, we will get a complete A part. Oh well, ain't she sweet? The The notes and chords here are pretty much the same as in the solo. For the next A, let's add some variation. Mainly, I've just changed C#7 to C#9 and added Bixby. And these two notes in the beginning are just fillers. Once again. So also Bixby here. And the rest is the same. And now it's time for the B part. Yeah, the first thing here is in fact still a part of the previous A, preparing the part B, or B flat chord, with some F7 lick. And now the B itself. Just cast an eye in her direction. Here is what I played during B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then back to F. Oh me, oh my. Again B flat, the same lick. And that perfection. So after a longer break, the final notes take us to the next A. So the whole B part together. Just cast an eye in her direction. Oh me, oh my. And that perfection. So, and the following A part is nothing special, just for reference. Wow, that was more in rockabilly direction, so here is what it looks like. Just cast an eye. And then we have the typical Cliff Gallup's thing. It has that familiar Bixby dive. And then quickly moving to the first fret. So these are some notes for F and Mixolydian scale for C7. So altogether the second part B sounds like this. Just cast an eye. And these chords belong already to the next, the last, part A. It is a melodic line formed by F6, C#7, and C7 chords. And then it goes the same like in all previous parts. And here it is again a little bit different. And then the last chords. And finally the ending. And that was Ancient Suite. Thank you for watching.